We are starting with slide 35 from the chapter 43 PowerPoint slides. And we left off, we were talking about the different ways that animals communicate with one another. We covered auditory communication, visual, and chemical. So we talked about some examples of tactile communication. For example, the seagull chicks pecking at the parent's bill to induce the parent to feed them. That's tactile communication. That's by touch. And I was saying that the waggle dance of the honeybees. Honeybees have this dance that they do in front of the other honeybees that indicates the distance and direction of a food source. So it allows it gives them information they need to get to the flowers, the specific flowers that have the nectar that they need for their particular hive, And I was saying that it seemed like it would be visual communication, but I looked it up. I read a little bit more about it. And actually, they do this waggle dance in the dark, so they have to be touching one another to get the information. So it's not something that they can see. So that's why it's tactile communication. This is just a picture of honeybees, and this is just showing you how the different movements that they make can indicate the angle, which will show the direction they should fly, and then there are other movements that indicate distance. And this is the video of the waggle dance, which is just kind of cute. So you can watch it on your own. It is on slide 37, or again, I posted all of these links to these little video clips underneath the recorded lectures. Most of them are not but a couple of minutes long or even shorter than that. But I'm going to try to show this one, if it will. Sometimes I've had to try more than twice. All right, I'm going to give it one more shot. Here we go.
Try killing bugs the worry-free way.
So here's the waggle dance. This is the waggle dance here. All right, I'm going to stop it, but that's pretty cool. So moving on to section 4, behavioral ecology is the study of how natural selection shapes behavior. So these are behaviors that increase the fitness of the organism. Territoriality is the behavior of defending one's territory. I see my dogs, especially one of them. They're both male dogs. They have both been neutered. And so, but I have one that still engages in the marking his territory behavior, Now, male gibbons, which are, the primates, they maintain their territory by loud singing and fight to defend their territory. Sometimes defending a territory has a large energy cost. So the animal will be hurt, possibly injured, possibly killed. Benefits of territoriality include food, breeding opportunities, and a place like a habitat to rear their young. So sometimes the benefit outweighs the cost. Seabirds have large home ranges, but when they reproduce, they become territorial. Each bird has a small patch of beach where they place their nest, and they defend that territory. This is showing you male and female gibbons, just a picture of them. And then foraging for food. So the optimal foraging model states that it is adaptive for foraging behavior to be as energetically efficient as possible. So we want to make sure that, example, when an animal forages in a way that endangers it and it's killed and eaten, it can't produce offspring. So it wants to go at, if you think about some of our big predators, lions and tigers and that kind of thing. Some of our big predators going after herd animals, like antelope, like a lion, hunting antelope. They go for the small ones, the weak ones, the ones on the edge of the herd. They don't go into the center where they can be, kicked by the hooves and possibly killed. There is an example of crabs foraging for food, and this, like what they did is they measured the length of the mussels, which are the organisms that the crabs eat. They're kind of like, they're freshwater clams is what they are. So the mussels that have the average length are the ones that the crabs tend to go after, because the cost of getting to the mussel itself is not as great as it is with the larger ones, the ones that have the longer length. But if the mussel is too small, then they're not going to get enough food out of it. So they go for the average size. All right, reproductive strategies and how they affect fitness of the organism. So animals can be polygamous, which is a single male with multiple females, polyandrous, which is one female with more than one male, and then monogamous, which is one male and one female. So for situations where you have polygamy in the animal kingdom, females are investing more energy in the offspring than the males. The males just pretty much go around and, impregnate the females. We see this a lot with primates. You'll have like one single male that's in charge of the harem of females. So the females end up doing more of the caregiving. In polyandrous situations where you have one female and more than one male, the environment can't support several young at a time. That's what we see in that situation. And so she's increasing her chances, of getting pregnant. In monogamy, where you have one male, one female, at least for a mating season, sometimes it'll be for life, but not always. But usually in monogamous situations, both males and females help raise the young. And this occurs when males have limited mating opportunities or when there's territoriality and the male is certain the offspring are his. So he will put time into raising the young. So these baboons are at the zoo in Ashboro, the Hamadryas baboons. This is polygamy. So you have the male and then his harem of females. In sexual selection, this is a form of natural selection that favors features that increase an animal's chances of mating. So what you typically see with sexual selection, this is not always true, but often in the animal kingdom, you see females choosing a mate. and you see males competing for females. That's what you see is female choice and male competition. And here you see the male, I think these are elk, but the caribou, I don't really know. But there you see this with they're fighting, competing for females. So that's a type of sexual selection. And a lot of times with birds, in fact, I think they give the example for peacocks. So the peahen is the female peacock and the peacock is the male peacock. The peacock or male bird has the elaborate tail. It's beautiful. But the female peahen chooses her mate, and it could be that the what she's looking at is the fancy tail. That may be her, what's attracting her. But anyways, that's what you're seeing is that the female is choosing the mate. And then a lot of times with sexual selection, you see males competing for females. So the stronger males that can fight better are selected for. All right, living in a society that has a greater reproductive benefit than reproductive cost. Let me start over. Living in a society has a greater reproductive benefit than reproductive cost. Living in a group has a protective benefit. Benefits of group living include help in avoiding predators, help in rearing offspring, and finding food more easily. Group living can result in disputes over feeding places and sleeping sites and really sharing food, One way to divide up or apportion resources is with dominance hierarchies. Like with the baboons, you have the male that's the dominant male. In wolves, you have the alpha male. But this gives the higher ranking individuals greater access to resources. A lot of times, if like the other males in a society that are not the dominant males and they're not getting access to the female to mate, they're still in a way passing on their genes because they tend to be related to the dominant male. They tend to be a relative of the dominant male. So in a way, in an indirect way, their genes may be getting passed on, So altruism is a behavior that has the potential to decrease the reproductive success of the altruist. So it's like selfless behavior. Selfish behavior is opposite of altruism. So in some insect societies, reproduction is limited to the queen and her mate. And so everybody is in that society is focused on making sure the queen reproduces. But when you look at it from their perspective, they're all pretty related to one another, like clones of one another. So their genes are getting passed on too. That sometimes insect societies are even described as almost like a one individual organism. All right, then we have inclusive fitness, and that inclusive fitness includes reproductive success of self and reproductive success of relatives. So when we talk about the fitness of, when we say inclusive fitness, it's not just the individual's reproductive success, but it's the success of their relatives that increases their fitness because, like I say, like indirectly, they're getting their genes passed on. And then another word you need to know is reciprocal altruism. And that occurs in groups of animals that are mutually dependent on one another, like in insect societies. For example, helpers in the nest. The workers in insect societies, they're all working, the worker bees, the worker ants, they're all working together to make sure that one of the individuals in that society passes on their genes. This is just a picture of the queen and her eggs and some of the workers around her. They're all working to make sure she reproduces. Inclusive fitness just includes the fitness of the individual and their relatives. And so we're going to end here.